Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to getting well informed. Today, we're jumping straight into the deep end, really, taking on a story that, wow, it just exploded across the Pi network community, this whole supposed Pi bank leak.
Oh yeah, it's a classic example, isn't it? How something with basically zero proof can just take off, especially when you're talking about a community that size, 60 million people. The promise of real financial change, that's powerful.
It really is. And the hook here wasn't just some minor update. This was the big one, right? The leak promised a fully operational Pi bank, like right now.
Yeah.
And not just any bank, a stablecoin-backed one, maybe even heading for Binance. That's ambitious.
Hugely ambitious. For pioneers, people who've been mining and waiting for years for something tangible, well, hearing bank, stablecoin, Binance listing, that sounds like the finish line. Liquidity, stability, global use, it ticks all the boxes they're hoping for.
It's the dream scenario, basically,
Yeah.
turning a mobile mining app into essentially a regulated financial player overnight. That promise of instant financial services, that's potent stuff.
Absolutely. It changes the entire narrative if it's true.
Okay, so let's unpack this properly. Our mission today, really, is to imply some serious critical thinking here. We need to pull apart these rumors, hold them up against the actual facts on the ground, the tech, the regulations, and hopefully give you a kind of toolkit for spotting this sort of crypto fake news yourself, using this Pi Bank story as, like, a case study.
Yeah, it's about separating the verified stuff from the wishful thinking that's dressed up as news.
Exactly. Facts versus speculation. Let's get into it.
Right, so
And that word bank.
yeah.
It just hits differently, doesn't it? It implies instant legitimacy, stability, access to traditional finance, everything the current enclosed mainnet phase kind of lacks. So when something pops up that seems to solve that core problem, just like that, hope kicks in harder than skepticism.
And that hope leads us straight to the first and honestly the biggest red flag. The total lack of any official confirmation. Zero. I mean, think about it. If a project was genuinely launching a bank, preparing a stablecoin for a major exchange, that's not a leak you find on some obscure blog. That's a global press release. Coordinated, professional.
Right. We did the homework here. We specifically checked all the official channels, the places the core team tells everyone to trust. And the results, well, they pretty much kill the rumor straight out of the gate.
Let's be specific, yeah. 4 key places we looked and found absolutely nothing. First, the main official website, mindpia.com. Nothing. No press release, no blog post, no mention in any roadmap update about a Pi bank.
Okay, second, the official Pi Network blog. This is where they usually post the detailed stuff, right? Protocol changes, real updates. Again, completely silent on Pi bank. If it's a major change, it has to be there. It wasn't.
Third, and this is crucial for real-time news, their official social media. We checked X, formerly Twitter and Facebook, the official Pi core team accounts. Total silence. For something this huge, you'd expect those channels to be buzzing. Graphics, announcements, celebrations, none of it.
And finally, the partnership angle. The leak hinted strongly at a partnership, but the entity supposedly involved. Nowhere to be seen on the official list of KYB verified partners. And the core team has been really clear. Only trust partners who've passed their Know Your Business checks.
So you check those 4 pillars, website, blog, social media, KYB list, and you come up empty on all 4. That story immediately shifts from potential leak to, frankly, likely fabrication. It's just not credible news at that point.
Okay, so if the official team isn't the source, where's this stuff coming from? And why should we be instantly suspicious? This brings us to red flag number 2, the dubious origins of the sources spreading it. We looked at the unofficial places pushing this narrative, and, they show classic signs of misinformation, often designed just to get clicks.
Yeah, these sources, usually independent blogs, maybe some YouTube channels that aren't vetted, they have a pattern. They often mix real news with pure fantasy. So they might mention something factual, like, say, the recent DEX testnet launch, which is real, we'll get to that. But then they'll seamlessly weave in wild speculation about, a secret banking deal or a guaranteed Binance listing. It creates this sort of confusing mix that's hard for the average person to untangle, like a truth sandwich, but with rotten meat.
And the headlines, oh man, so much clickbait. You see things like, Binance CEO confirms Pi listing thanks to Pi Bank, or secret document leaks $100 Pi price. It's a pure sensationalism designed to tap into those hopes and maybe fears, get you to click. And almost always, if you try to trace the claim back, there's no link to an actual official source, just circular reporting or vague references.
And critically, the websites or channels spreading this, they are not part of the official Pi network infrastructure, almost never. Their motivation is often ad revenue, traffic, building their own audience, not accurate reporting. So you, the listener, need to recognize that the source of the information is often way more important than the claim itself. Is it official? Is it verified?
The takeaway here is pretty straightforward, isn't it? Stick to the official channels. Get excited about real news, sure. But if it's not coming from mindpi.com or the verified core team accounts, maximum skepticism. Default to disbelief until proven otherwise. Okay, let's zoom in on one specific part of this rumor that seemed to give it a bit more perceived weight. The alleged link between this fictional Pi bank and a real-world entity, Bank. Bringing in a third party makes things sound more concrete, but in this case, it actually makes the whole story less plausible.
Right. Let's clarify what Bank claims to be. It markets itself as an Islamic cryptocurrency. Right. Now, that label immediately brings certain expectations, like adherence to Sharia principles, ethical finance, transparency, no interest payments, that sort of thing.
Sounds okay on the surface, but the analysis we looked at flags some pretty serious issues with Bank itself, right? Problems that make a partnership with Pi Network seem, well, highly unlikely, even before we get to the official checks.
Yeah, definitely. Digging into Bank, you find it described pretty consistently across crypto analysis sites as a project lacking a clear regulatory structure. There's not much transparency about audits or oversight, which is kind of a big deal if you're claiming ethical, Sharia-compliant finance. And worse, Bank itself has actually been the subject of scam warnings within the broader crypto space, people raising concerns about its claims, potential pyramid scheme vibes.
Wow, okay. That's a massive red flag right there. No serious project aiming for mainstream legitimacy like Pi Network seems to be would want to associate with an entity already facing scam accusations. It's just toxic. And, circling back, it's not on the official KYB list. That's the procedural killer right there. If they're not KYB verified, Pi Network policy says no deal.
And we should probably spend a moment on that KYB process, Know Your Business. It's not just red tape. It's Pi Network's main tool for trying to ensure that any partners building on their platform are legitimate, financially sound, and meet global compliance standards. It's about protecting the ecosystem and the users. And based on everything publicly known, Bank seems to fail several key KYB criteria.
What are the specific deal breakers then for a project like Bank, or really any unverified partner trying to get into the Pi ecosystem?
Well, first off, regulatory status. If you're offering anything resembling banking or complex financial services, even in crypto, you need verifiable licenses, government approvals. Especially if you operate internationally, Bank hasn't publicly shown that kind of compliance.
Okay, licensing is one. What else?
Transparency is the other big one. Reports often describe Bank's corporate structure, its funding, even its core team as being pretty opaque, not transparent. Pi Network trying to navigate complex regulations in the EU, the US, everywhere. They simply cannot afford to connect their huge user base, potentially tens of millions of KYC'd users eventually, to a project with mystery founders or unclear financial backing. It's just too risky from a compliance perspective.
Right, it undermines their own effort.
Exactly. If you think about the bigger picture, Pi Network is pouring resources into its own massive KYC effort for users. Their whole narrative is increasingly about trying to be compliant. So partnering with a non-transparent, unverified entity, especially one already flagged by others, it directly contradicts that strategy. It would basically trash years of work trying to look legitimate.
So the lesson here is simple again, isn't it? If a rumor mentions a partnership, your first step should be check the official KYB verified partner list on the Pi website. If the supposed partner isn't on that list, the rumor is almost certainly bogus. Saves you time, protects your assets. All right, so we've debunked the specific rumor, but now let's zoom out a bit. This section is about understanding the sheer mountain any project has to climb to launch something like a real bank. This is the reality check. Because for you listening, it's important to grasp. A bank isn't just a cool app name. It comes with enormous real-world hurdles, legal, financial, technical, that make this whole Pi bank idea, at least right now, seem, well, infeasible is putting it mildly.
Yeah, infeasible is a good word. The fantasy of just flipping a switch and launching a Pi game slams hard into some very real, very high walls. Let's start with the regulatory ones. These aren't just minor paperwork issues. They are massive, often legislative barriers.
We're talking licenses, right? And not just any license.
Exactly. Not just a simple money transmitter license, which some crypto exchanges get. We're talking a full banking charter, the kind of license that lets you legally hold customer deposits, manage fiduciary duties, basically act like a real bank. And here's the kicker. You need that license or equivalent approval in every single country or jurisdiction where you want to offer services.
Okay, stop right there. Pi Network has users everywhere.
Yeah.
60 million registered users globally. The logistics of getting banking licenses in, what, dozens, maybe hundreds of countries? The U.S. alone has state and federal charters. Then Europe, Asia, Africa.
It's a logistical and legal nightmare. Each jurisdiction has its own rules, its own capital requirements, its own application process, ongoing audits. The compliance department needed just to manage that application process would have to be huge, costing millions. There's zero public evidence Pi Network has anything remotely like that structure ready.
Okay, so licensing is hurdle number one. What about ongoing compliance?
That's hurdle number two, and it's just as big. Anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer KYC compliance. But not just basic ID checks, we're talking bank-level compliance, transaction monitoring for suspicious activity, filing reports, doing deep risk assessments on customers. It's incredibly complex and resource-intensive.
And this is where Pi's current situation gets really relevant, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're already facing huge challenges just getting their existing millions of users through the basic KYC needed to move Pi to a mainnet wallet. It's notoriously slow.
Exactly. So the idea that they could suddenly jump from that basic identity verification, which is already proving difficult at scale, to full institutional-grade AML compliance, that involves things like source of wealth checks, enhanced due diligence on certain users. It's an exponential leap in complexity, cost, and personnel needed. They are nowhere near that right now.
And we have to mention the EU specifically, right? With IA.
Oh, definitely. The markets in crypto assets regulation in the EU. MiCA is a game changer. It imposes incredibly strict rules on anyone offering crypto asset services, especially anything resembling banking or stable coins within the EU. We're talking strict requirements for transparency about what backs the assets, detailed risk management plans, customer protections.
And capital requirements, right. That's a big one.
Huge. INCA often demands entities hold capital reserves, real money, or highly liquid assets equal to a significant percentage of their liabilities. For a global stablecoin or crypto bank, that could easily run into the billions of dollars in required reserves. If you can't meet those capital requirements, you simply cannot operate legally in the entire EU. It's a massive structural barrier that these pie-in-the-sky leak stories just completely ignore.
Okay, regulatory hurdles are massive. What about the tech side, the network itself? This kind of brings up that core question for any project claiming decentralization. How can you have a decentralized bank if the underlying network is still pretty centralized?
That's a critical point. The current data, as far as external analysts can tell, suggests something like 90% of the total Pi token supply is still controlled by the Central Pi Foundation or core team. Now, they might argue that's temporary, needed for security during migration, but it fundamentally clashes with the idea of a truly decentralized, trustless system.
What are the real risks of that 90% control?
Well, governance is the big one. Real decentralization means power is spread out. Token holders, validators, making decisions collectively. When one entity holds 90%, they effectively have unilateral control. They can change the rules, make decisions, potentially censor things without community consensus. That's a huge concentration of power and risk.
And technically the nodes, the things that run the network.
We know the network is still working through issues with its validator nodes, getting enough reliable independent nodes up and running. And currently, it seems all the really crucial validator nodes, the ones actually confirming transactions and maintaining the ledger, are still run by the core team itself.
That sounds like the opposite of decentralized.
It is. It's basically a single point of failure, or at least a single point of control. A truly trustless, decentralized bank needs a network where no single entity can just halt things or change the records. When the core team runs the key nodes, they can effectively control the network's operation. It makes the idea of an independent Pi bank running on top of it seems sort of paradoxical.
So tying this all back to the money side, financial reality. What does a real stablecoin or a crypto bank actually need?
It needs massive, verifiable capital reserves. We touched on this with MiCA. If you issue a stablecoin paid 1.1 to the dollar, you need a dollar or equivalent secure asset like government bonds in the bank audited for every single coin you issue.
Those reserves can't just sit anywhere, right?
No way. They need to be held by licensed, audited, traditional financial institutions. Real banks. Compliant ones. So any serious crypto banking or stablecoin project needs formal legal partnerships with established regulated banks. That's another whole layer of legal and regulatory hoops to jump through.
And finally, let's just look at the market. Pi isn't even listed on major exchanges like Binance or Coinbase yet, is it?
Nope. No major CEX listing. That means there's no large-scale regulated market providing liquidity or stable price discovery. We see the price bouncing around wildly on unofficial IOU markets, right? Sometimes $1.15, sometimes 26 cents, whatever it is today.
That volatility,
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite of what you need for a stablecoin base, isn't it?
Completely. You can't build a stable financial institution on an asset with no regulated liquidity and that kind of price swing. Bottom line, the project is currently miles away from having the regulatory approvals, the capital, the partnerships, or even the truly decentralized infrastructure needed to support something as massive as a Pi bank. The leak was pure fantasy compared to the current reality.
Okay, we've spent a lot of time on what isn't happening, debunking the Pi bank rumor. Now, it's really important we pivot. Let's talk about what is actually happening, the verifiable stuff, because this is where it gets interesting for real. There has been concrete development recently that users should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
Real progress.
Absolutely. For anyone listening who's genuinely interested in the project's long-term potential, focusing on these verifiable updates is key. It helps you cut through the noise, ignore the hype cycles, and get a clearer picture of where Pi Network might actually be heading, even if it's slow, towards that open mainnet goal.
So let's run through some of the actual innovations and updates we've seen, say, in the last few weeks leading into late October 2025. First up, and this feels pretty significant, DeFi development. We saw the launch of a DX, that's a decentralized exchange, and an AMM, an automated market maker, right? But on the testnet September 30th.
Yeah, this is a genuinely big step structurally. The DX lets people trade Pi tokens directly peer-to-peer without needing a central company in the middle. But the AMM part is maybe even more important. An automated market maker uses pools of liquidity, basically, funds provided by users themselves to enable instant trades. You don't need to wait for a specific buyer or seller to match your order.
So what does having a DX and AMM on testnet actually mean for the project right now?
It means the core team is building the essential infrastructure, the plumbing, for liquidity within the Pi ecosystem itself. It allows for price discovery and trading within Pi using Pi. This kind of internal financial activity is arguably much more fundamental and necessary for a successful open mainnet than any external banking partnership rumor. It's preparing the ground for real use cases.
Okay, good point. Next big thing, KYC, that huge bottleneck. We saw something called Fast Track KYC get implemented around October 15th. This seems like a direct response to all the community frustration about how long verification takes.
It has to be. The sheer scale of Pi's KYC challenge is almost unique in crypto, verifying potentially tens of millions of people globally with different ID documents, different languages, different regulations. It's a monster logistical task. This fast-track system seems aimed at using more automation, maybe leveraging our trusted community members as validators to try and speed things up. And speeding up KYC is absolutely critical. The mainnet can't realistically open fully until a large chunk of the mined Pi is actually verified and migrated to user wallets.
All right. Also on the tech side, the Pi App Studio got an upgrade around October 17th. They mentioned AI tools for developers.
Yeah, focusing on the developers is smart. Long-term value comes from utility, from apps people actually want to use. Giving developers better tools, maybe AI assistance for coding or testing, makes it easier for them to build useful things on the Pi platform. The goal is to encourage an ecosystem of apps to grow organically, creating real reasons to use Pi rather than just speculating on price.
Makes sense. And looking just ahead, they're prepping Protocol V23. What's the significance of that?
Protocol V23 is supposedly the big one that aims to finally bring proper smart contract functionality to the mainnet. Smart contracts are essential for anything more complex than just sending Pi back and forth. They're the self-executing code that powers things like DeFi lending, borrowing, NFTs, complex games, insurance, all that sophisticated stuff. Without robust smart contracts, even that DEX we talked about would be pretty limited. So this upgrade, if it delivers, shows a commitment to building a platform capable of hosting a diverse range of applications.
And we should also mention the ongoing Pi Hackathon for 2025, right? Again, focused on practical apps.
Exactly, all these things, the XMM testnet, faster KYC attempts. Developer tools, smart contract upgrades, hackathons, these are the tangible signs of progress pioneers should actually track and discuss.
Okay, but we have to be balanced here. While those are positive steps, there are still some pretty significant ongoing concerns that haven't really gone away. The caveats are real.
Definitely. We can't ignore them. The biggest one remains centralization. Even with new features like a DBEX, the fundamental control over the network's core infrastructure and apparently most of the token supply still rests with the core team. Is that just a temporary necessity for security, or is it a fundamental conflict with the long-term vision of a decentralized currency? That question hasn't been answered.
Yeah, that's the core tension, isn't it? Centralized control might make things easier or safer in the early stages, but it raises serious questions about censorship resistance, governance, and who really holds the power down the line. The lack of clear movement towards truly decentralized validation is something critics latch onto.
And related to that is the lack of transparency around the long-term tokenomics. How will the remaining supply be distributed? What are the inflation mechanics after open mainnet? For a community this massive, not having clarity on those fundamental economic questions creates a lot of uncertainty about the asset's future stability and value.
And then there's just the operational stuff. The constant frustration over the delayed open mainnet launch, the slow KYC process we already mentioned. These persistent delays and problems honestly probably fuel the appetite for sensational rumors like the PiBank story. People get impatient and grasp at anything that promises a quick fix.
It's understandable, though not helpful. And finally, we have to acknowledge the external criticism. You still hear concerns from some regulators and established crypto experts about the sustainability of the whole mobile mining model, the actual utility being generated. While Pi's massive community, over 60 million registered users, is undeniably its greatest strength, size alone doesn't guarantee success or regulatory acceptance without clear, valuable use cases and a solid, compliant foundation.
Okay, this whole deep dive exploring the PiBank rumor and the real updates, it's only really useful if we can turn it into practical advice for you, the listener. We need to equip you with a solid toolkit. How do you spot fake crypto news? How do you protect your assets in this often confusing space? This is about cutting through the noise and, frankly, avoiding getting scammed.
Exactly. Understanding the psychology scammers use is half the battle. They prey on excitement, fear, greed, and urgency. So let's outline 5 key red flags. If you see these in any crypto news or offer, your alarm bells should be ringing loud.
Okay, red flag number 1. We've hit this hard, but it's critical. Missing official confirmation. If the news isn't on the official project website, mindpaya.com in this case, or verified core team social media, assume it's false until proven otherwise. Full stop.
Red flag number 2. Offers that just sound way too good to be true. Promises of instant riches, guaranteed high returns like make 500% by next week. Secret arbitrage opportunity. Remember, in crypto, like anywhere else, high potential returns always come with high risk. There are no guarantees.
Red flag number 3. Artificial urgency. Time pressure.
Scammers want you to act fast before you think critically. So watch out for phrases like limited time only, off, ons tonight, only 100 spots left, act now before the price moons. They're trying to trigger FOMO, fear of missing out. Number 4 is the absolute deal breaker, non-negotiable. Any message, website, or person asking for your sensitive information. This means your wallet seed phrase, those 12 or 24 words, your private keys, or even your main account login passwords. No legitimate project, exchange, or support team will ever ask for your seed phrase or private keys, ever. If they ask, it's a scam. Period.
Got it. Never share the keys to the kingdom. And number 5.
Red flag 5. Claimed partnerships with projects that are unverified or opaque, especially those not on the official KYB list, just like the Sidra Bank example we discussed. If a supposed partner looks shady, lacks transparency, or isn't officially confirmed by the main project through their verification process, steer clear. The risk is just too high.
Okay, those are the red flags to watch out for. Now, what about proactive steps? How should you actually verify information when you see it?
5 concrete steps. Make this your routine. Step 1, go directly to the official source. For Pi, type mindpaya.com into your browser yourself. Don't click suspicious links in emails or messages. Go to the source.
Step 2, check the official blog. That's usually where detailed official announcements are formally written out. Much harder to fake than a quick tweet.
Step 3, cross-reference with the official verified social media accounts. Look for that blue checkmark or equivalent verification badge. For Pi, it's at PCore Team on X. Be wary of imposter accounts with similar names.
Step 4. Regarding partnerships, Only trust entities listed on the official KYB verified partner list provided by the core team. If they're not on the list, they aren't an official partner yet, no matter what rumors say.
And step 5, maintain healthy skepticism, especially towards anything labeled an information leak or secret news that doesn't provide solid, verifiable evidence. Assume it's fake until proven real by official channels. Think of it as your mental firewall.
This isn't just theoretical, is it? There are actual scams targeting pioneers right now.
Unfortunately, yes. These are active threats. We need to remind people specifically about things like the Pi 2-day phishing scam back in June 2025. That one was nasty, tricked a lot of people, resulted in thousands of accounts compromised, keys stolen. Scammers often create fake events or deadlines mimicking real ones to lure people in.
What are some other common tactics people should watch for right now?
Fake airdrops are classic. You get a message, maybe Telegram, email, social media saying, claim your bonus Pi tokens, or special Pi airdrop for loyal users. They give you a link, ask you to connect your wallet to claim the tokens. That link is designed to drain your wallet or steal your keys. Real airdrops from major projects are announced officially, not through random DMs.
Okay, fake airdrops. What else?
Investment pyramid schemes are still around. They might use the Pi name or logo, promise crazy high guaranteed returns if you invest or recruit others. These have zero connection to the actual Pi network project. They're just old-fashioned pyramid scams dressed in crypto clothing, designed to steal money.
And phishing websites.
Still a huge problem. Scammers build websites that look exactly like the real minepi.com login page or a fake wallet interface. The URL might be slightly different, maybe an extra letter, a typo, a different ending like .net instead of .com. They hope you won't notice and will enter your login details or, worst of all, your seed phrase directly into their fake site. Always, always double-check the URL before entering sensitive info. Be incredibly careful. Hashtag OutTRO, synthesis, and final thought.
All right, let's bring this all together. After that deep dive, what's the core conclusion? The whole Pi Bank idea. It appears to be pure speculation. No factual basis we could find. No confirmation from the core team. None of the necessary regulatory groundwork seems to exist. And the specific partner mentioned raises more red flags than reassurances.
Exactly. Your focus and trust should really be on the verifiable developments. Things like the DX and AMM being tested, the efforts to speed up KYC, the work on protocol upgrades like V23 for smart contracts. Those are the tangible steps, the building blocks that will actually shape the project's future, not these kinds of sensational, unconfirmed rumors, often driven by hype or maybe even malicious intent.
And just one more time, that crucial safety reminder. Your Pi, your digital assets, their security is ultimately down to you. Never, ever share your seed phrase or private keys. Stick religiously to official Pi Network channels for all your news and updates.
So what does this all really mean for you, listening? I think it means the success of Pi Network, if it comes, won't depend on these sorts of overnight miracle leaks. It's going to depend on the slow, hard work of actual development, achieving regulatory compliance, building real utility, and, crucially, on the core team being transparent with its massive community.
So, the final thought, stay skeptical, stay informed by verifying information yourself. And let the actual facts, not hype or fear or greed, guide how you think about this project and protect your own assets. That wraps up our deep dive into the Pi Network's latest viral rumor. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.